welcome back, and thank you for joining us for another episode of The Slide. This podcast aims to normalize conversations that are required for our community, centered around themes such as education, politics, justice, and economics. Before we can get into anything deep, it don't even make no sense to attempt to do it until we build a vehicle that'll allow us to be able to safely navigate these controversial waters. Today, it is an honor and a privilege, again, to be joined by Maurice the Beast Salmon. It's an honor to be here with you today, my brother.
Thank you.
So now I had an opportunity to sit into a interview that you participated in, and it was lifted or brought to the conversation that you have the record for the fastest knockout in the state of Florida at 8 seconds in the MMA arena. Question for me: why MMA? What brought you to MMA fighting?
It's everything, bro. The physical form of fighting, it's everything. If you can just think of being able to let yourself loose in every capacity, that is mixed martial arts. The way of fighting, you may not be a boxer, but you can wrestle. Okay, well, you may be a boxer, but I may be we still got to fight. You know what I mean? So it's one way to express yourself in multiple capacities, MMA, because it requires multiple disciplines, you know, kickboxing, boxing, wrestling, jiu-jitsu, so many other things that are required for just to be able to compete, you know, and then you have to master them to be able to be halfway decent at them.
Which, again, I'm saying, as I was sitting and I was listening to your interview, just so many gems just being dropped simultaneously. Again, you know, my podcast, or the podcast that we currently are recording, we want to be able to give, you know, guidance, resources, and support to individuals who don't even know that they need it particularly, right? Yeah. Right. We grew up in an era where it might be a fight, you know what I'm saying? A Joker might have to throw some hands. Yeah. Really, I want to say 1993, I wouldn't even hang around Joker. Y'all can check, man. Anybody who know what that was a dick 'em down boy in 93, you couldn't even be around us if you ain't had done certified your hands, because we had got jumped one day. Okay. I was at school, we had done got jumped one day. You know what I'm saying? And when I was looking around, everybody who I thought was a friend to me was standing around watching me in this fight. Right? And at that point, I was like, man, if you ain't uncertified, man, if I can't know that you know how to protect yourself, man, don't even come around me. Right. You know what I'm saying? Because I need to be around people who gonna fight with me. But the world that we live in today, you know, a Joker more quick to up the fire and get to shooting at a Joker, right? Because now that's something that's a skill, or that's a part of our culture that have been lost. Yeah. Right? What is going on? How do you think we can get back to a culture that embrace the simple things, you know what I'm saying? Embrace the simple things without being all complex.
Man, let's bring back being real men. Let's bring back what it means to be a man. Let's bring back being real men. And it's okay that we've come into an era now where they use words like demasculinate or you know, masculinity. Listen, masculinity is for men. You know, toxic masculinity. Listen, masculinity was built for men, you know, so let's bring back an era where if you didn't agree with somebody and if y'all got to the point and you go out behind the shed, it's over with, you know, or if you know, if your brother needs a hand, you step in to fill in the gap for him, you know. And like you said, man, I'm gonna give you a quick story. When you don't want to be around people that can't fight, if you get into it. For me, I got jumped one time, man, and I got jumped by 3 guys, and I'll never forget. I got jumped. I took off running because I knew what the time it was. My boys were standing right there when I took off running, and then we outnumbered them. It was 5 of us against like 3 or 4 of them. I'm the one running, and I got jumped.
Come on,
you know what I'm saying? Yeah. So, and I remember thinking at that point, I was like, I will never be around people that can't not only defend themselves, but won't step in to give me a hand if I need it. You know. So one of the things I like to think about now, since I've been training and learned martial arts over the last 20 years, is, man, what would it be like if I see the faces of my bullies? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I've had that opportunity.
Yeah.
Man, it's a different ball game. I've had the opportunity to see guys, like I said, one of those 3 guys that jumped me, you know, and it's a different ball game now. The level of respect is different, you know, because they don't want you to remember what happened.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying?
You know, man, it's unique that you bring that up, because I'll never forget. It had to be maybe 1997 or so. At this point, my life had took a completely different direction. Anybody who know 97 Tavares will know that I was really deeply into service to the Nation of Islam. And I had made a decision that I was going to kind of turn away from all of that foolishness that I had been on for quite some time. And when I say I made them go certify their hands, because we got in a fight with a group of dudes that was from another high school. I ain't gonna say their name. I ain't gonna say the group that they represented. You know what I'm saying? Because I ain't seen these boys in years.
Okay.
Right. However, in '97, we got into a fight, a real serious fight, which led to a shooting in '92. I saw him again in '97. But when I saw him in '97, I had on my suit and my bow tie, and I was in Winn-Dixie. I came around the aisle, and them jokers was there together, and we stood up. And I'm talking about, this was a group of individuals, and I didn't even know them. You know what I'm saying? We was fighting behind something what a girl had said. Wow. You know what I'm saying? And we fought every time we seen each other. But when I came around the aisle this particular day, and I was walking with that with that pack of meat in my hand and that little bit of rice, and they saw me, we locked eyes, and they said, "Man, hey, that's real. We respect what you're trying to do." You know what I'm saying? We respect what you're trying to do, because I had tried to change my life. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So like you say, bringing back being real men is a thing that's lost on our community. And it ain't the fault of the generation that's here right now. A lot of us, you know what I'm saying, a lot of our brothers and sisters from that Generation X time frame, dead or in jail and gone. Right. You know what I'm saying? Right. I was having a conversation with some individuals today, and they was talking about narcissism, right? And for me, and I'm gonna say this on record, right? If it ain't exist in the '80s, it don't exist.
Wasn't even a term. Wasn't even a term. You know what I'm saying? Wasn't even a term.
You calling a person a narcissist that was traumatized.
Right.
So when they was being traumatized in the '70s and the '80s, now you gonna call them in 2000 after you done got a chance to sit back and look how they portray their trauma. You gonna call them a narcissist today? Right. You know what I'm saying, man? We so unfair with our assessments and how we rate people. Yeah. But I believe even in the art form, right? In the art form of MMA. It gives, or in the art form of fighting, it gives us the ability to learn how to fight the good fight. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So what are some of the principles? What are some of those principles, those fighting principles that we can use in our waking life? You know what I'm saying? Because you learning real solid principles.
Sure.
But to be able to take them and put them into our mind, so that way now, as I'm navigating this space, I ain't navigating this space and fear no more. I can navigate this space, and I got something that I could use to fight with. You
tangible, something tangible.
Yes, sir.
Right. So I think the structure of martial arts, for one, the structure, because we all have those challenges we're talking about outside of the gym, outside of work, outside of the military. We all have those challenges as individuals, and how you balance it all, right? So for me, and many others too, martial arts, it gives you that balance, because when you go into a specific type of dojo, what's the first thing you see? Everybody's uniform. Everybody's wearing the same color uniform. Everybody's lined up in a line. Everybody's bowing. Everybody's showing a certain level of respect, right? So the uniformity of martial arts is one of the things you get very, very comfortable with, because now there's order, right? And what's the best way to teach us as men is order. You know what I mean? When you put order in front of us, we can follow those steps and be able to succeed. Same thing with anybody else, NFL, NBA. If you put the steps in front of them, hey, you play AAU ball, you do these things, and you keep your grades up, you're going to succeed. You already got the physical. See, we already have all the physical attributes. We were born with the physical attributes. They're there hereditarily. We already have the physical. So we need to be trained. You know what I mean? We need to be trained up the right way. So when I see guys that are big and physical and strong, and I think to myself, man, if I had an opportunity to work with them on another level, you know, because there's a mental aspect to it. Like I was telling somebody before in another episode, there's a mental aspect of fighting as well. You know what I mean? So if you take the mental side and balance that comes with the training, and now you put that into the physical that we already have, because we're already built with this fire. We're already built with we're already genetic freaks in some capacity. So we already have all of this stuff. So now you have to direct it, because remember, it's easier to direct a parked car that's running than it is to figure out what's wrong with a car that ain't cranked up. You know what I'm saying? If that car's already parked, all I got to do is figure out how to put it in gear and get it going. But if there's something that's sitting over there and it ain't been used and you don't know the last time it's been cranked up, you might have some more problems on your hands. It's the same thing with us as people. We've already physically got all the attributes. We just need to be directed on how to use them and how to balance ourselves. You know what I mean? Because once we create that balance, now we become different types of individuals. You know what I mean? Now, if I train you, if you've already got all these things in your head, and then you go up and down emotionally constantly, right? But if I train you on how to not just compartmentalize, but how to release, because the release is the training. The release is when you get to go in there and get it off of you. You got another like-minded individual. They going through things too. They want to get some stuff off too. Hey man, you got 30 minutes. We can just go in the gym and lock the door. Yeah, man, let's go get it. What would that do for all of us?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? What would that really do for us? If you ain't got to be outside being aggressive, all you got to do is go in there with another like-minded person, and y'all share the same interests, and you go do what you got to do, and you both feel better when you walk out. You know what I mean?
Yes, sir.
That's the balance. That's the balance of knowing, like, me and this person can take it to whatever level we want. We're going to hug each other. When we're done, we're done. You know what I mean? We can take it whatever level, depending on the skill sets.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Hey, I'm going to tell you, and that's real. And as I'm listening to you talk, I'm going to be vulnerable. I've been beat up in my life once. I got a good ass whooping one time. And when people who watch this who went to school with me, they ain't going to even really believe who whooped my ass.
Wow.
Christopher Phillips. Chris Phillips whooped my ass, right? I ain't even realize we was in a real fight until he whooped my ass, right?
Wow.
When he whooped my ass, because I was playing too much. And I caught him on the right day. And he said, and this was my best friend. He said, man, we finna go in the back of the school. Wasn't but 3 people there. Don't nobody know that this happened.
Wow.
Except me, Chris Phillips, and Ronald Scriven. Ronald was the referee, right? And by the time I realized I was in a real fight, it was too late for me to do anything about it, right? But to have somebody who loved you enough to teach you to stop playing. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Because that's what he taught me. He taught me don't play so damn much. You know what I'm saying? And I appreciate him. May God be pleased with him because he passed. But may God be pleased with him. Yes, sir. So it's nothing wrong with being in the environment. That's why when you say bring back being a man, you know what I'm saying? What do that really truly look like? You know what I'm saying? You got to be able to find a group of people that you can really be vulnerable around enough to be able to cultivate the man that is inside of us laying dormant. Right. That's coming to your analogy. That's parked. Right, our man is parked. You know what I'm saying? So now, if the car was running and it was in gear, it'd be easier for us to get up and get into man mode. Yes. But right now, man, the car been sitting there, it's dusty, the tires flat on it. Right? So it's some work that we got to do in order to be able to develop our character, in order to be able to evolve into the men that we have the potential to be. And I love the analogies that you're creating. So I'm gonna ask in a fighter sense, right, with an intention on being able to help to understand in the manly sense, what are the characteristics of a good fighter?
Work ethic. You can be talented. You can be gifted. You can be technical. But if you don't put those things together with work ethic, you can be beat every time. You know, because in a fight, you can win the first couple minutes of a round. And you can really put it on somebody. You ever heard the term weathering the storm?
Yes, sir.
If that joker can weather the storm and you go, all right, I gave him what I got, and now he looks up at you and go, now it's time to fight. It's a different ball game when you don't gave him everything you got. But guess what? Now you got to dig deeper, right? So that's when you know what's inside of you. Okay, so let's say you don't win that one, right? You got something to work on. You know what you got to go back and work on. Okay, I got to have more than 3 minutes of fighting in me to be able to do this. I got to put in the work ethic. I got to put in the work. So putting it in the work is one of the biggest things. The grit, you know, because fights start, you know, just every fight starts standing. Joker standing up in your face, y'all square up, but most fights end up on the ground. Yeah. You know what I mean? Somebody ends up on the ground at some point, whether you knock them down, but somebody ends up on the ground. So the grit, being able to go where most people don't want to go. We call it deep water, right? So when, you know, if you've been out there before, then you know it's tough. You know what I mean? Like 5, 6, 7 minutes of fighting, all of a sudden you're like, oh, this is wearing on me. I'm getting tired. But you would like to believe that it's doing the same thing to the other person. Okay? So then at some point, you push it up a little bit and you take them out there to where you really don't want to survive at. You take them to that deep water. If they don't want to survive in that water, you drown them. You know what I mean? And I say that because all of that means you go to a place that you know you don't like going. Take somebody else there with you too. But if you get comfortable being in the uncomfortable, then you're going to break the next person. You know what I mean?
That's right.
So it's just like when you're in training, you try all of these things. You learn all of these things about yourself before the actual fight takes place. You go through all of these different things. And it's the same thing in the mental realm. You go all through all these emotions. We go through all these different emotional things up, down. As men, it's okay to have emotions. You understand what I'm saying? It's okay. Now, we don't have to always exert outward emotions, but it's okay to be we get emotional when people score touchdowns. We get emotional when people score baskets. So it's okay to have emotion. You know what I mean? And I believe society try to coach us and coerce us into being unemotional creatures. Fighting is the biggest form of expression that I think anybody can have. You know, because you get locked inside of there with one other person. You want to know what you're made of? You want to know what's inside of that tea bag? Put hot water on it. You know what I'm saying? You want to know what's going on? Put hot water on that tea bag.
Yes, sir.
And now all of a sudden, now you're going to find out what you're made of, you know, because the rain don't lie. You know what I mean? The mat don't lie, you know, but it gives you something to work on. And then if you can, after loss, if you can humble yourself to say, okay, this is where I'm starting at. And that's where you build character at, you know what I mean? Because I believe coming back after a loss builds more character than winning ever does. You know what I mean? I fought in 4 world title fights. I won 2 of them, right? I've got my black belt. I've got a knockout record. I've done a lot of other things that I never thought I would have done. But I've also lost. And I learned more from losing than all of those victories I just told you about. I had to ask myself, do I want to get back on the horse? You know? Learn more from losing. And it humbles you. Because now you got to come back from behind.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's something to come back from the behind. It's easy to always look back and be comfortable when you're in front of everybody. I'm good. I'm up here. Everybody else is over here, so I'm good. You know. But it's another thing to have to come from behind and get back in position.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
yeah. That's a beautiful point, because the victories, we celebrating the victories, but them losses send us back to the lab.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? In a world where, you know, to your point, you use terms like narcissists and toxic masculinity. Well, in my humble thinking, right, in a world that is doing everything in its power to feminize the male image or the male perspective, then, you know, we fighting and struggling through all of this, through these emotional seasons in our life, and we see that anger, right? And we thinking, because I done punched this person in the face, or I done jumped on the joker, that's being real or that's being tough. Boy, that is so feminine, right? You're being very, very feminine right now with all that yelling, screaming, and jumping on people. You emotional. This is not a masculine characteristic. And they ain't a knock against no single mom that's raising a young man, and he picked those things up. We pick them up. It's normal. It's natural. But now what we have to be able to do is assess where we are. You know what I'm saying? Assess where we are. Be honest with ourselves and vulnerable enough to be able to look at the loss. Right? Look at the loss. See what are the components that were lacking, and then identify an individual that can train us. The most beautiful word, I believe, when you was not the most, because you shared a lot, but a very beautiful word from what you just shared with us was the training aspect of it. Anything in life that we desire to accomplish can be achieved through training. Right. But we don't want to train. Training ain't always a good thing. If I'm training, I'm mastering every concept. Yeah. Right? I'm training because what I'm looking for is where's my lack, or where's my deficiency, because I can't improve on something that I already done mastered. I'm looking for the things that I didn't master. And that's why when you said a chink in the armor, a joker finna out wrestle you, a joker finna out box you, right, a joker finna out judo your particular skill set. That's powerful, and I think we experiencing the same thing in life, right? Yeah, we being out organized, we being out negotiated, we being out saved. You know what I'm saying?
We're getting to the show last. We're getting to the front of the line last. Why? Because we haven't been trained on. You need to get up and go get in line. We haven't been trained on that. When we find out it's time to get in line, everybody 7, 8. Droves of people have already gotten theirs and moved on. We're getting what's left. We're getting the models that they don't want to use anymore out of the line now. You know what I'm saying? Because we haven't been trained mentally and prepared to be at the front of the line all the time. We've been conditioned to get it. Okay, I guess I'll go up there. You already missed the due date. We've been conditioned like that because it's almost to where, like you say, the masculinity is almost put to the back, and it's acceptable to be lacking or to not want to be a go-getter. You know what I'm saying? It's acceptable. You got cliques of young men that click up, that don't hold any expectation, no accountability among one another. But yet they round each other every day. Let me ask you something. How can you be my friend if you don't hold me accountable? How can you truly be somebody that care about me if you don't hold me to a level of accountability, and vice versa? But yet you got groups and droves and cliques of men, young black men, that get together and they don't hold each other accountable, but they'll go shoot somebody. They'll go pick up a gun. But they're not holding each other accountable as a friend, as a brother. So that we got to start there. We got to start with training them in the right mindset of being a man, of being a real man. You hold your friend accountable. Am I my brother's keeper?
That's right.
You see what I'm saying?
That's right. And I'm grateful to have a man like that in my life. One time for that boy Slick Vic, right? Because when I was young, and as we started navigating our way to the streets, after coming from a broken home, coming from that particular type of environment, I already had done decided whatever these jokers on, that's what I was going to be on.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? That man would not allow me to put myself in a situation that would have compromised my freedom. You know what I'm saying? But and he loved me enough to whoop me you know what I'm saying, into we finna fight. You know what I'm saying? Anytime that joker pulled up on me and I'm at a trap or I'm doing something wrong, man, it's finna be an issue.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It's finna be an issue. And why? Because he saw something greater in me. You know what I'm saying? And he wasn't gonna allow me to put myself in a situation knowing that ain't where I was supposed to be.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? We got to have a greater degree of love. Where do that start? How do we start developing that type of relationship with our youth? Because I mean, we are strange. You know what I'm saying? Like the youth of the youth of today, and their ability to listen to our guidance or follow our influence is not like when we was children.
The respect ain't there.
The
level of respect isn't the same.
But why not? What do you think impacted their ability to respect us?
The gap is closer between parents and children now. The gap is closer. You have younger people. I mean, don't get me wrong, teens have had children out throughout history. That's not uncommon. But the gap is closer now. You have where children are having children and they're trying to be their best friend while they're still trying to go out to the club while grandmama and mama is taking care of the baby. The gap is so much closer now. So you have parents that want to be friends that don't regulate and hold their kids accountable and keep them in the place as children. You know what I mean? You touched on a subject, and you talked about just single mothers and men. So many single mothers are now putting so much on their sons to where it's almost like they don't need a husband because they're putting so much on their sons and these young men to be like a child husband almost. You know what I'm saying? And so they're skipping over a phase of growing into manhood. Because now in their home, they're the man of the home automatically, you know? And mom is allowing him, he gonna buy me this when he gets older. He gonna buy me a house. Generational wealth does not go backward, it goes forward, right? So when you talk about moving money backwards, money dies, things die when you move them back, you know what I mean? You can help the person for that moment, but things die, they don't go forward. So when you move things backwards, like when our parents say, they're gonna give me a home, there's nothing wrong with that. I ain't knocking that, I'm all for it. You know, but when you have that young man that just paid his first contract of so much money or even his regular job and the first thing he want to do, take care of mama, right? Well, mama done lived her life. Not to say that there's anything wrong with taking care of your mother, because Lord knows I take care of mine. But mama done lived her life, okay? And it ain't nothing that you can do for mama that's going to move your life forward and your kids' life forward, right? Mama got to be taken care of, but at the end of the day, that burden should not be on our men no more. You understand what I'm saying? That burden shouldn't be there because we carry it. You know what I mean? We carry it, and it's tough because we feel like, well, she did her thing to raise me up. It's my responsibility when it could be nothing further from the truth. The Bible says raise your children up so they won't go astray. So we got to leave the house. But we stay so attached because of that relationship. With mama, it's almost like it's a form of, it's not healthy, and I know I'm probably touching on some stuff, because it's not healthy because that man have to be a man, he got to make his mark, but if he's too busy being attached to the wound and still stuck to the titty, then how is he going to move forward and cut himself and not take losses because he's trying to push stuff backwards and move his possible inheritance backwards instead of moving it forward for his kids.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying? So it's a mindset that we caught in. So we got to have mentors, real mentors that are spread across the globe, man. That are spread across you got to be understanding of, like you say, you got to be able to be combat, you got to be able to finance, you got to be able to discuss mental health. We got to having mentors across the globe because that's where we at as people. Yes, sir. You know?
Yeah. And for any single mother or any young woman in dysfunction that is viewing these words, don't judge us yet, right? Don't judge us yet, because we not the enemy in this conversation, even as we talking about the way that we need to be able to provide support and love for our mothers even. I love my mama.
Same.
When I was 14 years old, my mama kicked me out. I was in a period of time, and I was skipping school, and I was wanting to navigate my way to the street. She kicked me out. She sent me to my father. I'll talk about that a little bit later. However, in this year, anybody who know me, that's why I wasn't at Carol City in the 10th grade. The lady sent me to go stay with my daddy because 9th grade I had done. My 9th grade year of high school was terrible. But anyway, so she sent me to my father's house the summer 9th grade going to the 10th grade. As we get towards the end of the summer, I called my mom because I'm having a conversation with my dad. I'm like, man, school start on Monday, and I ain't done went to get some school clothes. I say, man, you gonna help me get some school clothes?
Right.
My father told me, he say, man, the people you going to school with this year ain't gonna know them clothes from last year, right? Part of that punishment for me wanting to kind of rebel, right?
Okay.
So I'm walking in tight jeans all year. So I say, man, I ain't going through this. I call my Aunt Francina first because my Aunt Francina always had my back.
Okay.
So I say, Auntie, you think you'd be able to take me to get some clothes, man? This man out here talking about these people ain't gonna know these the same clothes. She say, baby, I can't do it for you this year. These jokers done clicked up, man. They done determined that they wasn't gonna support me this year. Then my 10th grade year of high school, I called my grandmama. I say, Grandma. I asked my dad, I asked Aunt Francine, I said, Grandma, you think you'll be able to get me anything to start school? Because my daddy say these people ain't gonna know these the same clothes. She say, baby, I'm sorry, but I just can't do it right now. Right? And I'm thinking, dang, I gotta call my mama. Now, I ain't on good terms with my mama for real. She just put me out. This is the second time she done put me out. The first time she put me out, I was 12.
Okay.
All right, this time she put me out on 14. But I had to bite the bullet. So I pick up the phone and I call.
Last one in the chamber.
Last one in the chamber. I say, Mom. You know what I'm saying? I say, Mom, you gonna be able to take me to get some school clothes? This nigga over here talking about these people. I ain't gonna know these the same clothes from last year. She say, you want clothes? I say, yeah. She say, you want clothes? I say, yeah. She say, if you want clothes, get money. Hey, she said, if you want clothes, get money. I'm 14 years old. How I'm gonna get money? I'm in Miami, Florida.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? She made the pathway for me going to go and out into the streets easier, right? Because now I can't even go to school because my self-esteem ain't gonna allow me to be able to sit up in this class with these jeans tight around my thighs in the Carl Canat era.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
If I was going to school right now, I'd be a straight A student.
You couldn't do that in the 90s.
You couldn't do that in the 90s. You can't walk around with your balls spread.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Hey, people finna talk about you. So I decided that I wasn't gonna go to school. Right, and so and that led to me eventually dropping out. Now my life took a lot of twists and turns. Then my mama made a hard decision when she said, but see what my mama was doing, she was hedging her bet. She was hoping that the dysfunction of the time would create in me a toughness that'll allow me to survive. In 2017, my mother visited my home in Killeen, Texas, and she slept for 3 days. She didn't even come out the room. That's the most peace I had seen my mama in a long time. You know what I'm saying? So it's a place in between in our experience where we got to be able to understand. Right? I want to be able to be there to support my mother. The best feeling for me was to be able to give my mama them 3 days where she could just come and rest. Ain't have to worry about no bills. I brought her food. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I attended to her needs. I ain't taking my life savings to buy my mama a house, and I got children that's gonna potentially need education paid for or something coming subsequent. My mama don't have that as an expectation of me. My mama set me in a position for me to go out there and become a man.
That's it.
Right, and then she's turned me over to my daddy for him to make me into one. Right, so it's a partnership that got to occur in our families that allow the woman to do her job and the man to do his job in order for us to be able to become individuals where one day we can become that thing that our children need. And right now I think that our community is just lacking it because we don't have individuals that's playing in those roles or, like you said, good mentors giving that guidance. We can't continue to lead or lead our children out of relationship dysfunction. Right. That man ain't got no problem with them kids. He got a problem with you. That woman ain't got no problem with them kids. She got a problem with you.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? And what we got to be able to do is remove that barrier from us being able to be effective for our children. You know what I'm saying? Because in my humble opinion, that's what it's like. And the last thing I said before I seek the next bit of guidance from you is because I said right here in this studio when I was dealing with Miss Christina from Team Nitro MMA that science suggests that instances of bullying are dramatically reduced when a person can kick a little ass. You see what I'm saying? When we can learn how to fight through some of our dysfunction and our struggles. So now, given all the complexity of the problem set that we are facing right now, right? How do we lay a foundation for our youth to be able to kind of combat this time? Because we in it now, you know what I'm saying? We steep deeply in it. How now can we create an environment that'll allow for our children to be able to take some of them principles that you just shared and use them, right? Whether it be in fighting or in football or in science, at the science or even in the spelling bee, if you would. Because I think the beauty of the concept is when you learn how to fight, you give yourself an opportunity to win.
Right. Learning how to fight gives you a chance. That man, you said it nail on the head. Learning how to fight, you just putting yourself in a position to win. You know. But I'll say this is when you have I can't say it enough. When you have as a personal trainer, I learned you're not only training people, you're their nutritionist, you're their therapist, you become their psychiatrist. You become so much more than just physical. So because you're entering in something with somebody where you're asking them to be held accountable, you're telling them to go in uncharted territory, and you're promise them expected results. So I'd like to believe it's the same thing with dealing with our youth. We have to present the package. We have to let them know what they're signing up for, let them know what they're signing up for, and we have to present it in a way to say, this is where we're at today, this is what we're going to do, and this is what we expect in the end. And we have to hold them, put barriers up so that way they don't go too far left or right. It takes resources to do that, right? Everybody don't have a 3,000, 5,000 square foot gym that they can bring in 200 people in. You know what I mean? Everybody don't have time. So it takes resources to be able to get to these people. Because remember, we got to go to the problem. The problem ain't going to come to us. You know what I mean? We can't just go out and say, people aren't going to just bring all these at-risk youth to us. Now, if you're lucky, they will. I've had that happen a couple times. But for the most of it, we have to go where they're at. We have to go into the places, into the crevices, into the neighborhoods where they're at, and we have to spray the ray of hope. One thing that Nick told me years ago, he asked me to come out. He said, I need you to come. We're doing a school giveaway. And I said, well, he said, man, they're going to love to see you. And he said, bring the belt. I said, well, he said, man, they ain't never seen a pro nothing. They ain't never seen a professional nothing. They're going to enjoy it. So that resonated. It stuck with me. We got to put the opportunities in front of the ones that we want to succeed. You know what I mean? You ever seen that analogy where they talk about how certain demographics start in the race, and then they say, well, go through this first, go through that before they even start the race, and then all these other groups are so far ahead. We got to bring it to them so that way they know they're in a race. They got to know they're in a race early. You know what I mean? We got to train them up to understand what they're up against early.
That's right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, you know what, and I appreciate that. I think that's beautiful. And we have to stop looking at our challenges as if they are intended to break us down or destroy us, right? I prefer, me personally, I prefer to look at all of the difficulty that I experience in my life as a reflection of God's love for me and his belief in me, right? Because I firmly believe that God don't waste his time giving trials or tribulation to suckers.
Sure.
Right? Because he's a merciful God. When he know you got Kool-Aid running through your vein, he allow you to fill your glass up with ice.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Hey, when my glass come, I get a glass, I get the red pack, I get some sugar, I get the ice on there, and the water, the water in the lake still, I gotta purify that.
You might have to go to the fountain to get your water.
You might have to go to the fountain to get your water. I'm gonna give you the components that you need. And because he say, let me see if you're smart enough. You know what I'm saying? To get a cup of sugar and put it with the pack and then switch that thing around and make you a whole gallon of red. I ain't gonna give you a cup of Kool-Aid. I'm gonna give you the pack so you can make you a gallon. And that's how we got to look at the difficulties that we have been outfitted with. I think that's a beautiful analogy when you mention how they give that diagram where if you graduate, if your mama graduated from college, take a step forward. Right. If your parents got divorced, take a step back. And then when we look, we see when the race is starting out that there is a handicap, right? But we got to realize that it's a handicap. But you're only 100 yards ahead of me in a marathon.
Right. So I got to train you how to be twice as fast.
Come on.
I got to train you how to be twice as fast when the gunshots, you start out, you may or may not start 100 yards behind, but I got to train you to understand when the gun starts, this is your opportunity. This is how you're going to take advantage of it. So you got to know, you got to be twice as fast when the bullet starts to the end of the race to win.
Yes. And if we can embrace that and then enjoy the training aspect, understanding that, okay, this is a race. My competitor is strong, right? But I like a scene from the movie Great Debaters where the members of that of the Wiley College team, he said, and who is my opponent? They say he does not exist, right? There is no opponent, right? You the star of the story, and the only thing that matters is the mental aspect of preparation for the challenge that is about to present itself to you. Because if you can embrace the journey, if you can embrace the trial, and then find you an effective coach or mentor, train hard and prepare yourself, it ain't nothing that we can't overcome if we apply ourselves.
And even if I told you, because everybody has a goal. Truthfully, don't nobody come in this thing and just go, you know what, I want to sit around and just do nothing with my life.
Come on.
Now, they may have a different way of getting from A to B, but everybody ultimately has some type of goal. I like to believe that. But the thing is, if I say, okay, well, your goal is over there, right? The problem is, your goal is there, and this is where you're starting at. And if I told you everything you have to go through before you get to that goal, most people will quit. I don't want nothing to do with that. That's too much. I ain't doing all that. So the beauty is in the, like you say, the journey, but it's also in the gifts and all the surprises that come along with it.
Ooh,
You know what I mean? Because
yes,
some
sir.
days there's some ups and some days there's some downs. You know, but how you embrace it and how you understand it, I got to keep going. And that's what I'm saying. We got to train our youth and we got to instill these values, and because it's a journey. You know what I mean? And you ain't gonna start it. You ain't gonna start just like everybody else. You know, on the track. You know, on the track. Some people start here. Some people start here. Some people start here. You still got to run your 400, but you just start at different points on the track. So we got to keep them understanding. You still got to run your 400.
I'm gonna tell you something, man. I don't want to sound naive or ignorant when I'm sitting here talking to you, because in my mind I always say to myself, man, that joker with that inside lane should go ahead and should eat him up. You know what I'm saying? Because in my mind, as I'm looking at it, I'm saying that inside lane further ahead than the person that's on that outside lane, right? But when them jokers come around,
that sucker start that sucker start stretching out on them, don't
it? And he come and walk you down and blue past you, right? Because it ain't even about where you started. It's about what's pumping inside of your chest.
That's right.
That's giving you the desire to continue to push forward towards greatness. And that's the journey. The journey is toward greatness. And, you know, it's easy to get down on yourself when you are adversely impacted by a challenge. You know what I'm saying? That's normal, right? Right? A unnormal or abnormal is that individual that can embrace it. Right? That I used to tell people, hey, I don't really get into a whole bunch of fights, right? Because I have learned, you know, after being in the military 21 years, having to fight, that the majority of individuals that fight, they like to get hit.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? It's real difficult to run up on the joker that thirst for the hit.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? What all I was trying to do was prove that I was bad.
and like you say, embrace the challenge. You got to almost believe in something so strict to you almost crazy. Because, and I'm gonna give you an example, then I'm gonna tell you where I'm going with it. So you ever seen a joker? Somebody challenged him to a fight, and he said, "Woo, that's what I've been waiting on." Right away. He said, "Oh man." The joker said, "Woo, this is what I've been waiting on right here." It's like, wait a minute. You know what I'm saying? That's how you have to embrace the challenges.
And ride it as I go, because you bring back a story from my military day. We was running up Cannon Hill. Anybody who been on Fort Riley know right outside of the Fort Riley exit, it's a hill, and at the top of it, it's a big cannon. So we go on our cannon run.
Right.
And so I'm fresh in military, you know, 23, 24 years old. I got all kind of energy, right? Big joker in back of me. One time for that boy walk, I'm running up to the top of this hill. I done flew up to the top of it. I ain't but $180, $175. You know what I'm saying? Good shape.
Yeah.
Get to the top, touch the cannon. I'm on my way back down. As I'm coming back down, I'm running past Walk, and he laboring. He doing his best to make it to the top. And I'm on my way back down to the bottom to go get me some rest, because now it's all downhill for me.
You don't like everybody.
Hey, man, listen, I can't wait. I can't wait to meet the rest of y'all at the bottom.
Right.
So as I'm at the bottom, I'm standing around running my mouth talking like I'm the champion, right? I see 6'2", 215 pounds barreling down the hill, right? And I'm saying to myself, this nigga is finna run into me. And he did.
Wow.
Right? He ran directly into me.
Wow.
Right? Now, what I didn't do was I didn't posture in order to be able to brace for the shot. You know what I'm saying? Right. Because that's the normal instinct. Oh, hold on, I got to lock it. I relax. I said, what's finna happen? I'm finna let it happen. And as he made contact with me, I grabbed his shirt and I rolled backwards.
Okay.
And as we rolled backwards, when the roll was finished, he was on his back and I was on top of him. Right? You can't be afraid. You just got to be calm. Right? It's gonna be some tough times. Right? You're gonna get beat up sometimes. You're gonna meet adversity sometimes. But as long as you can enjoy the journey, right? Yeah, you got a little beat up. You might be a little bit sore. You know what I'm saying? Go get you some therapy. Look at the tape. Run it back. Look at your finances. Look at the homework that you turned in or didn't turn in. Look at the architectural design of the thing or the concept that was in your mind that was never fulfilled. Go back to the lab. Find you a mentor. Find a trainer. Find an individual that can pour into you to help you close the knowledge gaps that existed before you started the journey. And then don't give up on the journey. Just realize the point at which you are is the richest opportunity for you to achieve success. And I'm grateful. So as we get ready to close out, man, thank you so much for agreeing to do this episode with me, man. It's been an honor and a privilege. The parting thoughts. What message would you leave with our viewers relative to challenging and overcoming adversity, training and fighting and giving themselves an opportunity to win? The floor is yours, please, sir.
Man, find your niche that balances your life. Find the thing that gives you passion, that allows you to be able to combat mental illness, that allows you to combat frustration, that allows you to combat anxiety. Find the thing that gives you passion that you can lean in towards, and find like-minded people that can help you advance and grow further with it. You know, get a mentor. Everybody need a mentor. Have somebody in your circle that not only have been there, done that, but have your best interests in heart.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you. Thank you, Maurice the Beast. It's been a pleasure, an honor, and a privilege to be in the presence of a like-minded individual and somebody who could pour into us and give us the opportunity to learn how to fight and survive and to win. That's what we're here for, right? We're here to present to those individuals who take a little bit of time out of their day to say, you know what, I'm going to try to consider something different. I don't profess that I got all of the answers, and I don't think that I'm somebody that you should follow. However, what I do know is that the individuals that will come through and sit in these seats, that you should pay attention. So in order to do that, guess what you're going to have to do? You're going to have to follow. You're going to have to like. You're going to have to subscribe. I'm asking that you share. Again, thank you for your time. Thank you for coming in and spending a little time to vibe with the slide. And as we always say in departing, you can run and you can glide, but you cannot hide when you vibe with the slide. Thank you. Be blessed. Peace.